Welcome to AMM 245.
Welcome to AMM 245,
Impact and Issues,
Consumerism,
Homework
Impact and
number 1,
Issues,
Stuff Log,
and
Explanation.
we're going to be going over lecture number 2,
so this
the historical
is your first
perspective.
homework assignment, and
So
it
just a
basically
very
requires
brief,
you to log
historical
all
perspective.
your
You can't go through
material
every detail,
possessions,
but
just so you can kind of get the idea
one particular
of how retail
room
has
that
evolved
you
and
currently
little
general
typically
on our
spend
lifestyle.
more of your time with.
So
from the mid to
it
late
can't be,
1800s,
for example,
we
the
had,
kitchen where you have like one or two things.
growth
It should be
in leisure
mainly
activities.
your bedroom
and see,
or
this
a
takes
place
up
where you spend
more
most of your
amount
time
of
and have
time
most of
because
your
before
stuff
was,
in. Mainly just
obviously,
work
this
at home,
is
work
an
in
inventory.
the
It's
workforce.
not going to be of
But
every
work.
possible thing
So
you own,
the
'cause you'll
idea of
probably have
leisure
things in your
activities
car
is
and other
relatively
places.
at this
That's
point
fine.
in time
New.
but just an actual honest inventory
this is where
of what
you
you
need
have
more functional. The
in your
needs start
most likely
changing.
bedroom.
More functional,
Okay, or
apparently,
place where you
things
sleep
that
or
will
most likely
allow you to
reside.
do some of these leisure activities.
So not the entire
So,
house.
there's a
not everything
demand
you own, just
that
that
grows from
particular
this.
room.
Okay, so for
We're also
sportswear
going
and
to
other
look
items
at the
such,
estimated
that
value.
are related to
It's an estimate.
these
It
leisure
doesn't have to
activities.
be perfect.
The demand
obviously.
starts. It
And
appears
you have
and
to
it starts growing.
quantify as well.
So,
okay.
so
this
the
is where we
purpose
begin to
is,
see
in order
this
for you
preoccupation
to
with
fully
things,
understand
right?
consumer
This is
patterns,
where
you
we
really
start
need to
seeing it.
understand your own. So
In
it'll
1870, the
help you
first
be more
advertisement
agency
and
is born.
basically
NW
be
Ayer and
more
Son of
aware of
Philadelphia.
the goods
So
that
this
you
is the
do
first
own,
ad
what
agency.
you have.
So
they're
really,
this
just
is
so
the
you can
first
get
step
an
for you
idea
to
how
look at
things are
your
different.
shopping patterns.
This
Okay?
is an
You're
example
going to
of
start
a bathing
looking at your
suit.
shopping patterns, and that'll
And
take you
it
to
was
that
made
next
out of
assignment.
wool.
So
You're going to be following
fun
the
dipping
format,
in the
cover
water with
page.
that,
Please keep the
baby.
font.
And
Times
this
New Roman,
is a
size
tennis
12,
outfit.
single spacing.
So for women,
their
they
dresses,
normal,
they had petticoats,
1 inch
corsets,
margins,
the
just
whole
keep it the whole
typical
shebang.
standard.
So
Their
with page
dresses
numbers
typically
at the
were
bottom
bigger
of each
and
page,
fuller.
sometimes your
This is
staple comes
actually
undone,
a
and
much
then
more
it's hard to keep
mobile,
track of
if
your
you can
page
believe
numbers.
that.
So a more
Please put the page numbers on the
mobile
bottom.
version of that.
And
So
then
they
the
can play
first part
tennis
is your
and do some
inventory
of,
check.
these little activities.
So you're
So
going to do an
these
inventory
leisure
of your
activities
items
to make them more mobile, to move
you
around
can
better,
do
easier.
a table on a Word
So
document, or
this is where
as
we
I'm
start
showing
seeing
you, clothes
you
and items that
can,
kind of
use
lend
Excel.
themselves to that. That's fine too.
We
So
also
that would
have
be a
we
separate
see
file,
the
or you
first
can just do a
department store,
table
in
Bon
Word.
Marché
And
you want to be able to group them together,
sorry,
so
I
you
can't
have
pronounce
things
French.
like
Huge
put the description,
idea here
and then you
concept
put
with the first
quantity.
department
So
store,
here
because
you
the
can say
idea
like
is
1,
that
2,
everything
3,
you could
whatever the
possibly
quantity
need for
is,
you and your family
or a box
under
or a
one
caseload
roof.
or
Okay, so
individual
this is,
quantities.
the birth of that.
Did you buy it, or was it there? Was it a gift?
Key ingredient to consumerism
And the
is
value,
department stores.
estimated
Absolutely.
value.
So
And you can group
the fact
things.
that you have diverse
Absolutely,
amount
you can do
of
that. So
goods,
if it helps you, you can group
products
items
to choose from.
They're all
it's
on
up to you.
display.
Depends on the
and
item,
lots
but
of it.
again,
All
I want
under
you
one
to be able
roof.
to
Well, gosh,
identify,
like,
did you
know,
buy it,
shoppers'
or
dream
was
come
it there in
true,
the room,
obviously.
or was it a gift?
And it allowed
an
for you to
estimated
really
value.
see luxury goods and
You're
items
going to
right
create
there in
that
front of you.
table either in
Okay?
Excel
So
or in Word.
The idea is that they
make sure that you itemize
to
everything,
entice the
including
shopper.
items
So
in a
this
closet.
is the
Think
idea
about
of
drawers.
not only we're designing products to
things need
use,
to be
but
made,
to get you to
needs
want
to
to
make
use
sense.
them.
So, for
And then
example, if you say
display
video
them
game
in a way that
console
you
system,
want to use them
and
as
I don't
well.
see any
So
listing
this
of
is
games.
also where we first
You
see
don't have any
promotion of
games, or are
novelty.
they all
I mean,
digital?
you would see some
So
novelty
make sure you
items.
make a point of that.
Peddlers.
Also, you
that
don't need to
go
put
door to
one
door,
item per row.
mercantile.
So, for example, if you have just 12
mercantiles are
t-shirts, you
small,
can
so
put
it's mainly
12
stuff you
in the
really
quantity
absolutely
and then
need
put
to
together. You
t-shirts,
can produce at
and then
home
just
yourself,
put a price
right?
range. Because some of your
So it
t-shirts
was
are
more
cheaper than others.
necessity
So just put a price range, like from
items,
$5
not
or
luxury
$10
and
all the way to,
novelty. And
let's say,
now this is
45,
where we start
55,
seeing those
whatever it is.
items of novelty.
So that's fine.
Items
So that
you
could be
don't
one
need,
entry. So you don't have to put
definitely
one
like,
row for
and
each
you're willing
single
to
item.
spend some, or hopefully
So you
get
can
persuaded to
group
spend
them
some money
together
on.
in that regard.
So
Otherwise,
we get to the
they do need
1900s, and this is where we have that
listing.
first. We have like 3 main waves of
Also do
consumer
end with
revolution.
a
The
grand
first one
total
hits in the early
estimated
1900s,
value of
comes
the
with the
items
Industrial
that you have
Revolution
in your room.
okay?
So like a
Because
grand
this is
total
where
at
we
the
start
very
seeing
end.
shops open
Then
up
you're
more.
going to
ask
why? Because
underneath the table you're going to
up,
answer
many people
the following
relocated.
questions. What does the stuff that
After
you
the war, we actually had live with
clothing
things that
made
you have
in
that you
huge
listed
numbers
say
because
about
of the uniform.
the way
So
that
now
you
we
live,
start seeing mass
by your
production for
lifestyle.
clothes and
Do you
mass
feel you have
production
too
for
much or too
items,
little, or
consumer
just the
items.
right amount of
And
items?
this is where
Why?
we
And
first see the middle
explain.
class. See,
Please
before
give
you were
examples,
wealthy or you were
elaborate.
poor.
Suppose all of your,
in
in the
Some
second
people think
question,
the US always
suppose
had
all
class,
your
no,
inanimate
it came
possessions
from the
are
Industrial
about to be
Revolution.
destroyed
That's
by
where we
natural
first started saying
disasters.
that.
Assume a
Middle
fire,
class.
horrible
Okay,
earthquake,
so we
whatever.
didn't always have it.
If you could
Now,
only
granted,
save
not
three
every
material
country
things, so
has
not
it.
items,
There are a
not
lot of
pets,
countries
not
have very
people,
poor,
not
very
pets.
rich. Talking just
Our
material
middle
items.
class currently is
What
shrinking.
would you save and
But
why?
it's still, if you
Okay,
take the
so list
upper
the
middle
three
class,
things
the
that you
middle
could save
class,
from
and the
three
lower middle
items
class, we still
and
that
why.
still encompasses a larger
That's part
number
one.
of people.
Part two, you're going to
But
do
it
a
is
little survey.
slowly decreasing. We're
You're
getting
going to
more
look at
people
yourself, and
jumping
you're going
to
to
a
survey
higher
end
peer.
of the income
So you're
bracket or
going
the lower
to
end.
make a list
So we
of
started with some
the
people in the
5
middle, but we
most
still have
recent
a
transactions.
significantly
Okay?
large
So
middle class
separate
considering
transactions. So
other
purchases
parts
that
of
you
the
have
world.
made.
Okay, so for each
Now,
one, indicate
catalog
what you bought,
companies began
where you bought
increasing
it,
their sales as well. So we had Sears and Roebuck
when
and
did you buy it, so the
JCPenney's.
date and why you bought
They
it.
had a
Okay,
lot, even more variety than
you're going to
you know, than
then
the
do
department
the
store
same
at the time.
data
At the
for
time.
another student.
It needs
So
to
a peer, but it has to be a
again,
student.
the need to
Okay,
present
make a list of
products
the
in a very
of their
favorable
five
way
most recent
increases,
transactions.
and let them know
They
that
really
it's
start
for this
seeing how they're
class.
really trying to entice
And
you
make
with
sure you have their
narrative.
consent. So in the catalog,
And
they're like, how
ask them
can
the
you
questions,
live
have them
without this?
answer.
And this is
And for
absolutely what
each
you
transaction,
need. And
again,
the
answer
wording and
the
the way
same
they
questions.
place the pictures
And
absolutely
put this
really
in a
important.
table. So like
And you have to
this is an
understand you can buy
example.
things in
Some
catalog. You
people
can buy
like
it
to
just
just list
list
it,
it,
but
but
if
if
you
you
can
can
order
order
a table,
house,
it'd be great.
you
Like
can
this student
actually
did, that's
have a
perfectly fine.
prefabricated
Just
house.
like that. You can buy a wagon, a
That'll work.
buggy. I mean, these were things that you can buy.
And in
Stoves,
part 2
that
of
kind of
section
stuff.
2 is basically the collection of the data of
this
your
is
peer,
where
of
good
another
materials
student.
make good
And then
houses.
section
So you
3
can feel
discuss
secure, right?
you
and your peers'
I don't know
consumption
if you feel
patterns
secure
as
buying
revealed
a
by these
home
sets of
via
purchases.
catalog,
So really
but
look at it in a
that's what they're
paragraph
trying
or
to do.
two.
So,
Analyze, really analyze. Think this one through.
So something that you have to
see
see
what
and see,
patterns
build,
you see,
paint,
what
and
you have in
complete ready
common,
for
what you
occupancy.
don't,
This inviting
makes it different,
1,100
and definitely what patterns
six-room
of
cottage.
commonality.
Okay,
What
so
do you
just so you
both
can kind of see. So
share
if you
in
ever see
terms
old
of your
pictures of
list,
these catalog
that you have in common.
companies, it's great.
Okay. And how do you interpret that?
Advertising
what does that
as
say
new
about
printing
your
techniques,
shopping patterns for
colorful
both of you?
posters, more color, more
So,
visual.
how do you know the
display,
work
which
is good?
basically
This
print,
is a very
visual
general
display in
rubric.
print form.
So basically completing everything.
So that allowed
the
for the
list,
product to
if
look even
there's
better,
items that seem
more
to be
alluring
missing, I'll make a
poses
note of
again to
that.
try
But
to get you to be like,
make sure that
cool.
your
I want
list
that.
is complete. Required
Newspapers
information. Make
really
sure
did
that you
help
proofread each
incorporate their
section.
product
You
imagery.
can see
The
part
text,
1 is 5 points.
bolder
Part 1,
typeface,
section 2
simplified words,
is 3 points.
but
part 2
more appeals. And this is
section
where we
1,
start seeing
2,
the
and 3
emotional
each
appeal.
are
They
4
try to appeal
points,
to your
giving
emotions.
you a grand
That's
total of 20
all we
points.
see now today. Almost.
This is due week 3.
It's all about emotion.
On Wednesday.
That would be
but this is
April
the first time we
11th.
really start seeing
10 p.m.
appealing to your
So
electronic submission only.
emotion. So
we really start seeing
in
an
Word
increase
or
in
PDF
advertisements
format,
Word or PDF format only.
Still not
Do not
quite
give
at the
them pages or any
mid
other,
1900s. In the
format.
1920s,
Okay?
the need for more items intensifies.
You
So-
can
and
have
a pretty
more than
steady
one
rate,
file if
actually.
you decide to do Excel.
Dime stores are
as a
open,
format
so
for your table. That's perfectly
allowing
fine.
are
Then
now
you
open, so
upload
they
2
allow
files.
like
I have it
inexpensive
so you
items,
can upload
consumer
multiple
items.
files.
So the dime store
Otherwise,
is the
your
birth
one
in the
Word or
1920s.
PDF file
Radio
with your
ads
table on it
increase,
is
add
perfectly
self
fine.
prestige,
Okay?
not just products.
If you have any
starting to
questions,
sell
please
image.
email me.
Okay, and things during the war,
hope you
during
get something out
the
of this
depression,
assignment.
things
So,
were rough. So
good luck.
the idea of glamour of Hollywood, that's why old Hollywood was so popular as well, was, that people were looking at it as a form of escapism because things were, rough after the Depression and during the Depression. Things were rough, so, and after war. So they wanted some glamour and they wanted some escapism. So the radio ads helped create some of that. And again, selling prestige and an image rather than just products. More is acquired and savings are reduced. And we start seeing a transition in items that you have because now, again, more leisure activities. Once the economy bounces back after the Great Depression, more leisure activities. And as fashions change and more leisure time, more needs for goods and services for your extra activities that you have. Then we start seeing crossing of ethnic lines. So immigrants trying to fit in. They're trying to emulate. That's the key word here, emulate. Social classes need to emulate the higher class. So we still see the middle class growing, okay, again, due to the Industrial Revolution. And so we're starting to see things crossing ethnic lines. We're also seeing gender lines being crossed because before tobacco, for example, was targeted strictly for men. And then you start seeing women, with the cigarette holders and everything. So they added accessories and made it very glamorous. Think, again, old Hollywood, those old movies. Everyone was smoking. They were like chimneys. And, the women with the fancy holders, and they look just so sophisticated. And that was the image that they're selling. And things were getting a way of really trying to showcase that wealth. And then the Great Depression really hit. In the late 1920s, the stock market did crash and things were rough. So now this form of escapism, really, they kind of latched onto it because things got really bad. And it basically kind of paused consumerism. It didn't stop it completely, it just paused it. And it went back into the swing of things after the Great Depression. But when the World War II hits and the Great Depression hits, you have to understand that basic needs take priority, okay? So this is why you have to understand Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So you have to understand that in order for you to really target items that are really non-necessary, and you need to have the first basic needs met. So physiological needs like breathing, food, water, shelter, clothing, sleep. If you're homeless, if you have a lot of problems, the last thing you're thinking about is, intimacy or other things. You need to take care of the fact that you won't starve to death, that you have shelter. And then you want to think about safety and security, then love and belonging, then self-esteem, and then self-actualization. So make sure you read up on the descriptions, but realize that if the bottom steps aren't met, it's really hard to target to people on the top, because the top steps of the pyramid, because their basic needs have to be met before they start thinking about other things. So these are actual photographs of the Great Depression, not interpretations or illustrations. Or actual photographs. So things were bad. Things were really bad during the Great Depression. So once we hit the 40s, the second wave of consumerism hits. It lasts till about the 70s. We have a new affluent team or group of people. Wealth has to be showcased here. The middle class is still growing. More women are going into the workforce. That means higher incomes. Products do expand to big ticket items, so call them consumer durables. Competitive consumption, keeping up again with the Joneses. This is where we start seeing this. And consumer credit is born going into late 70s and early 80s. That's why early 80s brings in so much debt. Basically here, we do see this protest between functions and needs. So ministers and other people that were more conservative against that consumerism. This is where we start seeing the protests, like we're becoming too materialistic. Vanity is starting to be showcased, and we're seeing more people being more vain. And advertisers utilize envy. They're trying to get you envious. This is where we start really saying it. We want you to really lust over items and really desire them and really want them. New impact on holidays. So new items that you need to buy for the holidays, that rush that you see now, this is where we start saying that. Courtship, so the idea of salaries, 2 month salary for engagement rings is a good example. So we start putting these informal rules. They're not laws, they're not written in stone, but they start getting developed here, so you can, so companies can make more money off you, really. And expectations. This is where consumer expectations grow, they expand, and of course that translates to more products. Then the idea of cosmetic upgrades increases. So for clothes, for things for the home, the idea of start coming up with new versions of things every couple years, or every X amount of time. Automakers. This is where we start seeing automobiles being made every year. Okay, new model, yearly model. This is where we start seeing middle-class restaurants, because we start seeing an increase in snacking, and now we want restaurants that aren't necessarily expensive. So middle-class, so fast food areas that started opening up. Toiletries like deodorant, things like makeup, and bigger ticket items for the home like pianos, buying toys for the kids, etc. In terms of functions and needs, we start seeing an increase development in divorce. Okay, so we start seeing families getting split up. The need for child rearing is changing. More items for the kids as well. Satisfaction at work is starting to change. So for middle class and lower class, and they want to strive for a better job. Repetition over burden. People were getting sick and tired. They want vacation, leisure time again. The need to display creativity starts really developing here. Success. And they can't at their job, so it can lead to frustration. And that's what scholars say is really contributed to conspicuous consumption, that lavish spending on goods to really display income or wealth. It's because of that boredom, and it's because of that need to fill kind of that void that they have. So they really want to appeal to the next level up in the hierarchy of wealth. So this term came in in the 20th century, and by the economist and socialist Thorstein Veblen. And the idea is that conspicuous consumption basically describes consumerism in the U.S. going into the 60s, and that term was used constantly. So lavish spending. We start seeing more inequality. No increase in leisure necessarily. At this point, it stays the same once we hit that third wave of consumerism, so 70s to the 2000s. But people want more leisure. They're just not getting it necessarily. Increase inequality, so conspicuous spending at the top 1%, 5%. Mass media is taking over growth expectations, advertisements, TV shows, credit. Now you have more tools for spending, and as time progresses, technology advances, easier to spend money. Again, with the credit card, the debit card, and as you see, all the now you got to swipe. Now you can iPay. Everything you can now. Next thing you blink and it looks at your eyeball and you're done. You pay. So like that new commercial of iPay. So that's where we're at. So it's making it easier to pay. Obviously, they didn't have that quite at this time, but the idea of that started here, and obviously we're seeing the consequences now. I mean, it keeps developing. How much easier can we make paying, right? But easier to get in debt as well. There's a disconnect between income and what you want, desire, right? And all the advertising is pushing for you to desire it, to want it. So that aspiration gap is now keeping up with the Gateses or the Kardashians, and again, that's people that are way out of your income league. So the comparison with people within your own earning category can be friendly competition and can keep you motivated. The problem is that the comparisons now we're seeing now are with groups that are making 5 times our income. So that makes it really difficult, and disappointment is obviously to be expected, and unhappiness. So we did in the early 2000s have a moniker for the bourgeois bohemian, and we came up with this term BOBOism, which is the idea that you're spending a lot of money without kind of having to say you're sorry on necessities. So not on luxuries. Like, I'm not spending on luxuries, but you're spending on expensive necessities. So like really expensive free trade, fair trade, not free trade, sorry, fair trade, very expensive coffee, and fair trade artisan chocolate. So it's chocolate. You can get really cheap chocolate. You can get a cheap cup of coffee, but you're willing to spend a lot more money for good quality, and it's, fair trade, etc. So we came up with that term. They came up with that term, and the thing that you're spending a lot of money on coffee and like good pair of hiking boots because you're hiking a lot, that's a cool thing to do. Whereas, I don't know, something they would consider like Prada heels, which are over $1,000, that would be frivolous and not cool. So it's not the idea of just spending, is that spending smartly on items that should require more money and good quality, not just on anything. They feel more spiritual, more informed, and this kind of traveled into other types of population. So the idea that you feel very spiritual, very connected, very worldly, informed, yes, we're very connected. You can look up pretty much anything. I didn't say smarter. I just said more informed. Not necessarily brighter or smarter, but that you're more connected and more informed with a lot of items. So that's what we start seeing here. So currently, social media and digital platforms are king. This is the provider for all your information. The idea is constant stimulation, constant product placements and promotion. They know that you're not watching TV like we used to, so they're trying to reach you through your smartphones, through banners, through clicks, through little previews before you look at your videos. Wealth is still constantly showcased, just differently. And a lot of people don't admit to it, but differently. Let me show you that I'm at Disneyland, and we know Disneyland is expensive. Let me show you that I'm here at this expensive place at the Standard in downtown LA, and it's so amazing. And let me post that on my social media, and let me post that to make sure that you know what cool things we're doing, that we're spending money, that we're traveling. Everyone's posting pictures of their vacation and traveling. Just know that through all this, it's very data driven. It's a good example. We talked about it in class about, the hot water that Facebook is in. Again, just a reminder, nothing, and I mean nothing in life is free. There's a price to be paid for everything. For social media, yes, you don't pay for Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat with money. You don't, but you do pay with data. Okay, with data. You pay with information. Again, that little agreement statement, think twice before you click accept or read it. Or at least be aware. Because then when you're shocked, like, I don't understand, people were outraged, those people voluntarily took that, that quiz, what kind of, Disney character, what character are you, or whatever it was. You're volunteering information. You are volunteering, and at that point, that's not your information, that's information that they have that people can take. So keep that in mind. Nothing in life is free. Please read the article that I posted along with that, which gives you, the post-consumers. It's basically just talking about how everything's just data driven, and it's fed through marketing. It's like this machine, and it's just kind of fed through, and they're trying by your shopping patterns, online shopping patterns, everything. They're getting as much information as they can from you. Now, from a business perspective, I have to say this is pretty amazing that you can in real time get information from before it was like get you on a mailing list and they'd mail you stuff. This is before internet. Now the fact that they can get in real time information on how you responded to an ad, how you're talking about the ad and responding to an ad or the product itself in real time, that's pretty amazing for a company. We just didn't have those sources back then, and we do now. So it's that double-edged sword. So for a company, it's awesome. It's a lot of information we can get. For consumer, it depends on how you look at privacy. So far, no one's really talked about concern with privacy. I'll feel the class out, see how you guys feel about that. But so far, no one's expressed any concern. Last quarter, I had more people express concern of it. I don't think you guys are as much. I'm not sure. But just we'll see. But that, from the consumer standpoint, I mean, it depends how you look at it, because, you can get something out of it and, get free stuff, and, and you're like, well, so what if they know my shopping patterns? They'll suggest things that I actually want. So some people look at it in a more positive way, and other people feel like it's a little bit of a breach of privacy, but we'll see. Anyhow, that's a quick little review on how things have evolved, and we'll be talking about more specific details throughout the quarter. So hopefully this gave you a nice little background. When you see kind of how things progress, you'll be able to better understand the present, and then we'll be talking about projections and where we're heading into the future. Okay? Thanks for listening.